Today I'm going to install the Hurst Dual Gate shifter. It's going to go in the Formula. And these are pretty iconic shifters. And there's original equipment in the 67 GTO. Then 68 Hurst Olds, 69 Hurst Olds, and it was in Hurst Olds up until 79, and it was available in the Cutlass and 442 from 70 through 72, and I'm not sure what years it was available in the GTO or if it was ever available in the Firebird. Got the shifter, shift cable, got the top plate for console mounting, the shift ball, some mounting hardware, the rear bracket, front bracket. And I bought the shift ball with the shift pattern in it. I thought that was kind of cool, so I'm going to use that. And I either lost the instructions or it never came with any, so I'm just going to have to kind of figure it out. Alright, first thing we got to do is get the shift button off. So I just pry it up with a screwdriver. And you can see on the sides there's some little notches you can get in there. You can get a bite with your screwdriver and it just pries straight up. And then there's a lock ring in there. And we're going to take that snap ring off and the knob should just slide right up. Alright, then you move the snap ring and just pull the knob up. That's it for that. Once you remove the 4 screws, just remove the top plate and the light bulb connects right there. We're going to use that on the dual gate. Alright, next remove this bolt, this bolt, this bolt, and then the 4 bolts here that hold the console down. Once you take the 2 screws out of the glove box, it just pulls right out. And then you can get to the bolts there. Actually, they're like sheet metal screws that hold the console down. Now there were 2 bolts up in the front of the console that should have attached to the bottom of the dash, but mine, they weren't. There was no bolts there, so I just was able to slide it forward and then slide the console out. And I believe I'm going to have to reuse this plate with the dual gate. So I'll take this and set it aside. And then next, I'll remove the shifter cable and then pull the shifter out. Once you get the sheet metal screws out of the bottom of the shifter, get the linkage loose, pull the clip off the cable in the front, then you can just take and just slide the shifter out. I picked up a couple self-tapping screws at the hardware store. These are, I think they're 1/4 20s. And I just went ahead and put them in the back here for this rear bracket. And we got some hardware with the kit, but the only thing I'm going to use, I'll probably use the clip, and then I'll use this clip here for the pin for the cable. But the bolts, these bolts were too big, and the sheet metal screws, I think they wanted me to use those back here, but I didn't like the idea of using those. I like this because they went and go ahead and cut threads in here, and if I want to loosen it and tighten it, and I feel like having threads there, I have a little bit more control and it's a little bit stronger, so I chose to do that. I picked up a couple 5/16 by 1 inch. Well, they're grade 8 bolts, but those are the only bolts they had at 1 inch length. And I went ahead and bolted the bracket down, used a little bit of blue Loctite so it won't come loose. So I'll get the other self-tapping screw in, and then I'm going to go ahead and lubricate this with some grease on both sides so it moves freely. And then we'll get ready to put it in the car. Alright, the dual gate's bolted in place. And I used the original screws that bolted down the factory shifter. And the factory cable's in place. But I'm pretty sure I need to use the Hurst cable, so that's going to come out. So the next thing I need to do is get underneath the car, remove the factory cable, and then I'll push the Hurst cable up through the boot, and then we'll reconnect it into the shifter and hook it into the pin back here.
Okay, we got the Hurst cable pushed up through the hole in the floor. It's got the protective sleeve there, keep from chafing. And got it connected to the bracket. It's got the retaining clip there. Moving down to the front. Put a washer on there. It's just got a cotter pin going through it, so should be retained just fine. And actually, that wasn't too bad. You know, don't like laying on my back on the floor, but you know, you got to do what you got to do. So we go up to the top side and hook it up to the shifter and see how it feels.
All right, we got the cable hooked up. And everything's bolted down permanently. So now we can reinstall the console and try to get the top plate fit. Alright, what I did with this plate, as you can see the rivet here, and there's a hole for it, and the same up top here at the rivet, there's a hole. Had put the plate in place and I had a hard time securing it, so I drilled holes and I put a pop rivet here and I put a pop rivet there to hold the plate in place. And now when you set the top plate down, things center up pretty good. So now go ahead and get the rest of the console secured. Might have to go to the hardware store and get some screws. I'll see what I have in my bolt box, but I'm getting pretty close. Dual gates installed, everything's in place. Pretty sweet.